Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If becoming a mangaka in One Piece world. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 181, Rob's Past. Rhodes D. Castro and Manuela Castro. These people were Rob's biological father and mother in this world. In other words, they were previous Rob's parents. He lived with them for 9 years since his birth. They were always on the move from one place to another, but one day their end arrived if the father Castro had not succeeded in keeping him out of danger before its arrival, who was still 9 years old at that time. He would be dead now, and there will be no current Rob. Gorosei's voice echoed in Rob's mind. Who was deeply hiding these memories in the lowest area within the huge library of information in his mind? This was one of the positives of photographic memory as well as one of its negatives at the same time. He can make the sad information disappear in his subconscious in a semi-forgotten state. But he can remember them at the moment he wants, or when he hears a specific name from those memories. So the moment the mustachioed Gorosei started to speak, a lot of very sad memories attacked his mind which affected his mood and caused his eyes to turn red with anger. But his current confusion was due to the interference of someone he didn't expect at all in his memories. This caused him to enter a state of confusion and a deep fear of the unknown. Flashback start. My dear, if we go back to O'Hara, we will cause a disaster there. The world government will have no mercy on that place any longer. But, those pirates who are looking for us to translate the poneglyphs for them. If they catch us, they will use us as slaves. Our child Rob will live as a slave all his life. Would you be satisfied with this for him? Damn you, pirates! No! Manuela. My son, you shall live free in the future. Go, do not be afraid, do not cry, be brave, your mother and I will be grateful if you live well. With a tired expression and a bloody body, the father Castro spoke to his son with unending tenderness and care. Remember, our clan's history must not perish. We are the light of knowledge from the D branch. You are the last descendant of the Knowledge Light clan. You must not die no matter what. Get strength and support and continue searching for the errors of history. We are the ones responsible for collecting the information for that person who will needs then when he arrives. The last thing, find that secret which hidden deep within Maragoa. 9-year-old Rob couldn't comprehend what he was hearing at that time as he was crying like a frightened child. Hide here and don't move, these pirates won't be able to find you here. This place is covered with my ability to remove sound. No one will be able to perceive this place or hear your voice. When it's all over, live well? Alright, son? Suddenly, the sounds of many people running were heard. In an instant, the place in the forest where Rob was hidden was surrounded by many fierce pirates. The father tried to get out of his devil fruit ability field to lure the pirates away from his son's place, but at the last moment, Rob grabbed his sleeve without willing to leave it. Auto-san. Don't leave me, I'm afraid, this woman dash. Tears and snot stained his small face at this moment, but the father hardened his stance and quietly withdrew from among the trees. Using the Paramecia-type Devil Fruit's ability, Com Fruit, this ability could remove sound from almost anything. Almost the same scenario that happened with Corazon and Law in the original story happened with the original Rob. Castro emerged from the domain of silence and succeeded in drawing the enemies away. After a fierce fight he refused to breathe his last breath until he made sure that the pirates stayed away from his son's place. The child Rob's silent cries echoed as he called out to his dying father. After seeing his mother's death previously, he saw his father's death now. Near Rob stood a woman in a long black robe and red hair under a long golden crown, her crimson eyes mirroring the crying face of Rob, who seemed to freeze when he saw her and stop crying. Foo. Interesting, so this is my Rob-chan's past? What a sad past it, heir of the Knowledge Light clan then. That explains some strange events concerning you. The child Rob's eyes dilated constantly before losing consciousness. The last thing he saw was a very beautiful face with very white skin, blood-red eyes, and a sinister and disfigured smile. Go to sleep, my little Rob, this big sister won't allow anyone to harm you, or who will draw One Piece manga for me in the future? Foo foo foo. Flashback end. After Rob came out of his memories, he was still sweating and full of confusion, which was why he looked weak in front of the Gorosei. Rob could see the memories of previous Rob with his own eyes. So he could see everything. That woman, who the hell is she? This was the question that confused him deeply. How could someone simply enter his memories and move in them as if she wandering in the real world? Could it be her? This terrifying change in mood was not hidden from Gorosei's eyes. The bald Gorosei smiled sarcastically before slapping the table harshly, speaking in a loud voice. Do you think we are stupid, Sky Sword? You plan to expose the fake history by pretending to reveal the future. Don't think we will fall for your dirty tricks. If they didn't take advantage of Rob's emotional weakness, they wouldn't be the Gorosei anymore. The ancient foxes who had manipulated everyone in this world and ruled them under their feet. As the bald Gorosei slapped the table hard, Rob woke up from the uncontrollable emotions, that being an uncontrollable negative effect of his photographic memory. Rob's tense nerves eased back, and the yellow glow of his eyes returned. Rob looked deeply at the 5 foxes in front of him. These people really deserved their title. They were neither stupid nor weak. Unlike the abnormal stupidity prevalent in this world, the Gorosei were using their minds to control the conversation to their advantage. Rob no longer thought about the abnormal event that happened a moment ago but regained his calmness with the Gorosei. They didn't mention the name of Rob's late parents without a target. They did it on purpose to see if it still affected him or not. In other words, they already made sure that Rob in front of them was the same person they had the information about. Detailed information about him, even before he became a member of Roger Pirates. Rob unbuttoned his jacket slightly, as a habit from his past life to reduce tension. These people weren't much weaker than him in terms of strength, he knew that and they knew it just as well. But he was still mentally weak in front of them, that's what he noticed and they also noticed. In an instant the debate turned to a disadvantage for Rob. Well, these guys lived long enough to easily beat a mentally inexperienced person. But Rob wasn't easy either. He came here to have more time to establish the dominance of One Piece with more volumes. To do so he has to trick the world government into making them lower their guard and not go into frenzy mode, or else Rob will have to incur a lot of losses if the world government chooses to ban anything that has a relation with the art store. Rob has not yet reached the point where he does not need to think about the reactions of the world government anymore. He still had to think about it over and over before carrying out any of his schemes. Do you even know what you're saying, Gorosei-san? I'm just a manga author. I also don't draw anything that has to do with the past or the future. Actually, I'm not surprised by the fact that you guys know my identity, but my current identity as a wanted criminal with a 4.5 billion berry on his head is more terrifying than my real identity as a descendant of just a family of archaeologists, isn't it? You are absolutely right. Your current identity is what made you have the honor of sitting at the same table with us in the first place, and your original identity does not matter to us. We told you what you wanted to hear, that's all. The bald Gorosei lowered his voice this time because he sensed that Rob had recovered himself from his previous confusion. He wouldn't get more points if he did so and might even have a backlash. But, we know you're more than just a manga author, so don't play dumb in front of us. Look at this. The bald Gorosei put a file of a few papers on the table and threw it in Rob's direction. Rob grabbed the file and started reading it, but no expression appeared on his face even though he was inwardly stunned. Truth-seeking project? 50% completed? Verified by Vegapunk? What's this bullshit? You're a really good actor. Just as you read it, you have a way of seeing the future, isn't it? It's almost all confirmed in that 2-year research in your hands. If that's not the case, why don't you pass the One Piece manga on to us? We'll keep publishing it for you, but you'll keep drawing chapters. We'll routinely process what you draw and that's it. The credit will be yours, and you'll get a high status from us, the world government. You will get everything you wish for. Just transfer the One Piece manga to us. What do you think? Chapter 182, The 5 Elders Easy to Deceive? Mihawk and Issue are trapped. Ohara. Sitting in his private office, Rob was remembering the events of that day while meeting the Gorosei.
still laughing every time he remembered it. Flashback start. You want me to transfer the One Piece manga to you?
Yes, keep drawing the chapters but leave publishing and distribution to us. You can keep publishing them in your art stores.
But also we can publish them through our many manga agencies. What do you think?
Rob wanted to laugh but forced himself to stop.
One Piece manga cannot be a government manga because it contains a lot of secrets and facts that may be against your government. Then why do you want to take it under your wing? Rob's mood became eerily calm,
seeming to have shown so much weakness that those old foxes thought him just a pig waiting to be slaughtered.
His calmness and cold tone made even Gorosei's expression change toward an uncomfortable expression.
It doesn't matter, we can edit anything to be non-antagonistic to the world government or not related to the world government. All you have to do is pass the manga to us.
This time, the long-bearded Gorosei spoke.
One Piece manga has a fixed core that cannot be changed. If anything unchangeable is changed, it won't be called One Piece anymore, just call it world government manga or something. You know very well what One Piece means, so don't play the fool in front of me. Rob got up from his seat and signaled them to leave. He could kill them here and finish the so-called world government heads in the eyes of the world. But he knew of Imu's existence, and maybe it was the woman who interfered with his memories. This kind of power that could enter his memories even while he was inside the art store honestly made him nervous. So he didn't want to break all the peace with this unknown power, at least until he became the same level or higher. Also, his personal entertainment would be greatly reduced if he killed these 5 men here and now. Are you kicking us out? The dissatisfaction could be seen on the Gorosei's faces. You can call it whatever you want, I can't argue about something funny like transferring One Piece manga to someone else. It's my job and I know how to do my job.
Didn't I teach you the basics of drawing manga a year ago? So you should know that what you're doing now is absolute stupidity.
One Piece manga is dangerous for us, we are only trying to protect ourselves. You are an outsider.
What about this? Since you are no longer a pirate, how about joining us? Everything will be fine by then. I will certainly organize if you make me the ruler who sits on the empty throne.
As soon as he said those words, the air around the 5 elders froze.
You dare retract these words, Sky Sword.
The Gorosei's anger could cause another person to have a heart attack of terror. But for someone of Rob's caliber, it didn't affect his mood at all, but rather made him happier.
What? Did something as simple as this offend you? I'm really serious, isn't that empty throne waiting for a qualified ruler to sit on it? I can defeat you all, and sit on it.
The only Gorosei who was calm among the 5 was the bald Gorosei with a samurai sword. He opened his closed eyes a while ago and looked at Rob seriously before speaking.
I don't know what you have under your sleeve that makes you fearless of world government. Is it your knowledge of the future?
If that is the case, then you are deeply mistaken, because the future can be changed and manipulated, but the past cannot be done with it. The words you said just now are a thing of the past, so you can't retract about them. Do you know it's worth 1,000 lives to make up for the fatal mistake you made, Sky Sword? I am not afraid of the world government, it is indeed true, but don't assume that my knowledge of the future is my only weapon against you. Would you believe me if I told you that I could bring down the world government without lifting a finger?
The 5 elders fell silent when they heard that. They couldn't laugh because they felt a real threat this time.
For the first time in their long lives, the 5 elders felt confused. If you continue down this path, blame only yourself. We can scrap the bounty on your head and coexist peacefully if you promise that you will continue to draw manga in peace and without blasphemy against the world government.
What do you think? Why does it seem to me that you want to cancel the bounty on my head so badly?
Actually, I want you to raise it. Don't worry, I promise I will not blaspheme the world government and I will draw the manga in peace.
The 5 elders looked at each other for a few seconds before standing up from their seats. So we have an agreement. If you break it one day, you will have to bear the consequences. Flashback end. It is easy to deceive these old bastards. Did my father deceive someone? And who are these old bastards?
Rob looked at the little head peeking at him from the bottom of the room's doorframe. This little head was definitely of his daughter.
Kaya. Ha 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 ha. Papa, you did it again.
Before little Robin can react, she finds herself inside a paper hand, gripping her tightly and pulling her toward her father.
Good evening, naughty child. Didn't you miss your dad?
The paper hand of his father was gone, but she found herself among the best gentle hands in the world. Little Robin rested her little head on her father's chest and sank in his warmth.
Before Rob could react, she was already asleep. Ha! You really fell asleep.
She's been waiting for you all day, my dear, so she had ignored her evening sleep to see you.
Alvia entered the room and approached the father and his daughter.
Rob ran his hands through his daughter's soft hair, causing her to show an ecstatic smile, and wet her father's clothes with her saliva.
So then, this little girl.
It's because you pamper her so much. Even when I pamper her I still can't do it as you do, which makes her prefer her father at all times. Let's go to the bedroom early today, the three of us will sleep together. Robin needs to feel the love of both her parents when she wakes up.
On the second day, Rob appeared in the Brisk Kingdom in South Blue.
After greeting enthusiastic civilians, Rob walked out of the art store. He got a message from one of his maids who work in the art store Brisk Kingdom that the king desperately wished to meet him. Rob did not refuse and came to hear what he wanted, although he kind of expected it.
Wasn't the Brisk Kingdom the same kingdom from which that royal ship came out? The same ship that fell from the sky near the Straw Hat at the beginning of the Jaya arc? So everything is clear.
Under the direction of two of his most beautiful maids here at Brisk, Rob was led to the royal palace, but on the way, he sensed the presence of two familiar people and seemed to be trapped by many powerful people. Rob did not hesitate and activated his peak observation hockey skill, which is called also God perspective skill. As if a god had opened his eyes and decided to peruse the human world, he focused his visual field on a grassy beach in the Brisk Kingdom that was surrounded by several government agents. And in the middle stood Mihawk and Issue with a cautious expression on their faces. They were clearly in a dangerous situation. The person who was wearing the clown mask, who was emitting a frightening level of strength, was one of CP0's chiefs for sure, given that he was not weaker than an admiral level.
Chapter 183, Getsuga Tensho of Mihawk. Girls, you can go back to work. I'll go on my own from here. Yes, Rob-sama, it was an honor to meet you today. It's an honor to meet such beautiful ladies like you.
Rob did not notice the red glow caused by the embarrassment caused by the words of flattery he had said to his maids, because his focus was on the god's perspective. After the waitress's leave, Rob returned to focus on the situation at the western shore. The western shore of Brisk Kingdom.
What does the world government want from us?
No one wants you, blind man.
If you don't want to die, just get out of here.
The tone of the agent with the clown mask was extremely cold as he spoke.
Did you see what I told you, Hawk-chan? That's what it means to be popular in manga or not popular. I'm unwanted here.
Mihawk had already pulled his black sword from his back and was pointing it at the dangerous person in front of him. The downside of his fame is that free enemies fall on his head from anywhere, and people who want to hire him will come from time to time too, just like those people in front of him. He didn't hate free enemies, he had really benefited from that in the past 2 years, as the percentage of battles he had to fight and survive from them had increased, and with it, his strength had risen. But he hated the people who would come to hire him because they waste time saying so much nonsense. Had he wanted to be hired, he would have accepted the offer of the man he aspired to surpass when he was offered the position of one of the leading numbers in his guild. So what did you say, Hawkeye? The world government is ready to sit with you at the negotiating table.
We can meet any of your demands if you are ready to become one of our numbers. Actually, my only demand is that you either fight me or get off from my sight.
The CP0 chief fell into a moment of silence after hearing the indifferent response from Mihawk, but then spoke sarcastically.
Kid, do you think you're the same Mihawk in the manga? Now, you can't even be considered a joke.
The CP0 chief with the clown mask took out a small dagger and pointed it at Mihawk, who was pointing his black sword at him. Mihawk felt déjà vu and a bad taste in his mouth when he saw the bastard in front of him pull out a small dagger. Don't look at me with that look, I really don't have anything sharp or smaller than this right now.
Mihawk. Issue. Rob. PFFFTT. Ha 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 ha. In the middle of the kingdom far from the western shore, Rob burst out laughing. He had never laughed like this before. The look on Mihawk's face and Ishu's expression face who burst out laughing summed it all up. Even the lower-ranked CP0 agents laughed wildly, unable to control themselves. Young Mihawk's brow turned black as he felt intense anger boiling within him. Getsugaya Tencho. Mihawk said the name of his new attack with a swelled anger in his voice. Very quickly his black sword cut through the air from the bottom to the top, creating light green sword energy that sliced the ground on its way towards the CP0 chief with a clown mask. The attack was overwhelming. It looked just like a replica of the real Getsugaya Tencho, Ichigo's skill. Getsugaya Tencho? Isn't that Ichigo's skill from Bleach? Why does Mihawk master it? The CP0 chief could sense a terrifying conqueror haki permeating the attack coming to him, although he didn't feel a life-threatening danger but still felt uneasy about receiving this attack. Both Rob and the CP0 agents present were utterly dumbfounded as they saw the situation unfolding before their eyes. Only Ishu, who kept carrying the same smile on his face, he was the only person who knew how much his friend trained to master this attack. The difficult thing about it was to convert Conqueror Haki, which also meant his spiritual energy, into his black sword and attack with it like Getsugaya Tencho. One mistake could make it would be disastrous for Mihawk's soul, who was trying to master a high-level spiritual attack. For Rob, he was seeing this in awe at the moment. This Getsugaya Tencho wasn't perfect, but it really was a Getsugaya Tencho. Rob was terrified. Just what if Mihawk owned Zanpakuto? With this talent, he would be terrifying. Returning to the battlefield, a change in the situation occurred. The CP0 chief waved his hand, resulting in a huge steel wall appearing in front of him. Mihawk attack, which consisted of pure Conqueror Haki, has cut to the middle of the steel wall before stopping. With that, CP0's chief was sweating behind his mask. He was considered the strongest opponent a swordsman could face. Even if it was a great swordsman of the Dark King, Golden Lion, and Sky Sword caliber, they would find it especially annoying. He was a Metal Devil Fruit user. It was the only Logia type that had the toughness besides the Wood Devil Fruit. He can create and manipulate all kinds of metals, except for the Sea Stone. It was a living nightmare for swordsmen. But here, someone even isn't considered a great swordsman yet. He cut his strongest defense right to the middle, meaning if he attacks again he will cut it slashing clean. But as for Mihawk, he was indignant. It's still not enough, I'm still weak. I have to step up my training. I feel ashamed. Gentlemen, my friend has told you that he is not interested in joining you. Why don't you leave now and we consider this matter to be over here? The CP0 chief was forced to answer Ishu again. Just who the hell are you, blind man? To meddle in what doesn't concern you? Don't think I'd be lenient with you just because you're blind. Who am I? So you want to know who I am? Are you sure? Ishu began to lift his clothes sleeve off his right hand. His act caught the attention of CP0 agents. On his right shoulder is the emblem of one of the most feared organizations in the pirate world, and under it is the number 5. One of the highest numbers. Of the Evil's Hunters Guild. Impossible. You again. Do you intend to declare rebellion against the world government or what? You get in our way every time. What do you intend? I don't understand what you mean. You're trying to force my friend against his will. Right? It's unacceptable. The leader has not given me any orders regarding Dracula Mihawk, but I can't see my friend in problem and I do not interfere. Ishu has opened his eyes that were without any pupils, but the moment they opened, the CP0 agents felt that the air became heavier, to the point that breathing became harder. Ishu. You don't need to interfere, I can take care of them myself. Mihawk looked at Ishu and said to Ishu in order to stop interfering. No, you can't. This clown mask person is so dangerous, you can't beat him at your current level. You better leave, I can stop them from catching up with you. Huh? You're asking me to leave? As if I would leave. Chapter 184, Mihawk vs CP0 Chief. Well, if you don't want to leave, you can watch closely. Ishu smiled sweetly. He knew how much Mihawk longed to fight. He was excited about it as his enthusiasm for the manga. Do you think I'll just watch as well?
This metal man is absolutely my favorite sharpening stone.
If I cut all of his metals, my training level would definitely rise. The smile on Ishu's face froze. He himself wasn't sure of winning over this clown mask man. So how could Mihawk, who was much weaker than him, do anything against him? You arrogant brat, but that's fine too, let me see you try to cut me. Do you think your ability to imitate Ichigo is enough to defeat me? You need Zangetsu itself before trying to cut me.
/N, Zangetsu was the name of Zanpakuto Ichigo. Mihawk could sense the mockery from this masked man of him. His hand pressed on the black sword hilt and tried to muffle his anger and show a quiet interface. The weak will be ridiculed and scorned by the strong.
He will be enslaved and his rights taken away. His fate will be determined and controlled by the strong as well. Wasn't that his reason for gaining strength?
The ability to determine his own destiny, and crush anyone who dares to scorn him, cutting off everything that stands in his way or is not good in his sight. Suddenly, appeared in his mind a picture of his future self cutting down the Dawn Creek ship like a piece of paper only because it was blocking his way. And he cut the belly of one of the protagonists of the One Piece story, in order to get an opponent worthy of fighting in the future. The suffocating silence caused the atmosphere to tense, even the lower-rank CP0 agents subconsciously sweated. They all knew that this young man was going to become such a big thing in the future. No, they had already seen his future with their own eyes in the manga and anime as well. Mihawk opened his eyes that gleamed under his hat with a sharp yellow light. Just as the eagle decided on its next prey, he didn't care about all the CP0 agents present, even though among them were a people stronger than him. But his focus was on his single target. The metal man with a frightening physique. He had vowed inwardly to cut him down today, or else he wouldn't deserve to continue on the path of the strongest swordsman. How could he try to challenge that person sitting on the throne if he was defeated here or allowed his friend to wipe his ass off by saving him? What now? Do you seriously think that you can cut me with your current skills? Even if the sword in your hand is the most powerful sword in the world, it's useless as long as your emaciated hand doesn't have any strength to use it yet. It really surprised me that you could use Conqueror Haki for such skill and ingenuity at such a young age. You can really gain a place in the new world at your current level, but that doesn't mean you can stand against a CP chief. We wouldn't know if we didn't try, right? Shuunpa. As soon as he said that, Mihawk vanished like a flash and appeared behind the clown mask agent. Collision. Sparks fly as a result of the sword hitting a very hard metal. Ha! Boy, you surprised me again. Was that Saru? No, Sara doesn't using like that dash. Did you just say Shuunpa? I didn't expect that there would be other people developing bleach techniques besides the world government. You really are so dangerous. If you don't join us, you better disappear from this world. The agent with the clown mask moved quickly before he finished his words using Saru. His metal arm swelled in size and length and clashed in Mihawk's direction. Mihawk, who was still thinking about how to cut the metal man in front of him, he didn't react in time, as the huge metal fist collided with his body and sent him flying, before feeling his body getting heavier and stopping in the air thanks to Ishu's gravitational field. Mihawk gratefully looked toward Ishu before the hawk's eyes flickered ruthlessly at the man with the giant metal arm, but his eyes were covered with thick blood that was bleeding from his forehead. Shai-ha-ha-ha-ha. To get out of this attack with just a little bleed, I have to praise you for your toughness. You really have the potential. The metal that hit you is tungsten. It's the second strongest metal in the world after sea stone, and it's far superior to it in hardness. Let me ask you a question. Can you cut iron? Can you cut steel? Well, even if you can, there is no difference between them and paper compared to tungsten. Looks like Mihawk hit an iron plate this time. Should I intervene? Rob was really enjoying watching the fight between Mihawk and that metal clown. This Logia user is very powerful. It's hard to cut because he can continuously generate metal even after cutting off part of it. The dice fruit of Das Bones is an inferior version of the real metal fruit. This integrated fruit that can manipulate all forms of metal, it's very OP, if the user can use it to its fullest potential. His lightning fruit can't hurt him, the fire can't hurt him also, they can only heat him. Back on the battlefield between Mihawk and the CP0 chief, which really intensified, as Mihawk kept trying to cut the metal man really hard, but every time he bumped into a super hardness. But at some point, Mihawk started to smile. He felt it, this fight, this setback, is what he really needed. To master the armament hockey, he has to find such an opponent.
Are you done playing?
In fact, if you weren't a friend of that number 5 of the Evil's Hunters Guild, you would be dead now if you didn't join us.
You are a lucky bastard. Is this the so-called plot armor?
Shahahaha.
But you are not the protagonist.
Mihawk was panting heavily, but even so, he was smiling. He knew what the man with metal has said was indeed true, but luck also plays a role in a person's strength, right?
Do you now know that being a lone wolf is not good for you?
Suddenly, a familiar voice spoke in his mind. Mihawk's brow wrinkled as he concluded that the owner of that voice had seen everything up until now.
What do you want? Didn't this happen because of you? If you didn't make me famous, everything would be fine.
Ha!
Who are you talking to? Are you crazy?
The agent with the clown mask thought Mihawk was talking to himself because what he said didn't make sense to him. Rob used small lightning frequencies that could not be seen with the naked eye to transmit his words directly to Mihawk's ear. This was not telepathy, but an advanced use of the Devil Fruit ability. It was no different from the mechanics of mobile phones, just as sound is transmitted wirelessly.
Ha 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 ha.
You're right, I'm the reason, but I'm offering you the opportunity now to become a member of my organization. Don't worry, you can challenge me as you like in the future.
All I want from you is to join me. Aren't you my disciple? I've taught you a lot of moves in the past year.
Well, you don't need to talk, just keep fighting or the people around you might think you're crazy. And you better stop trying to cut that guy off and go train hard before trying again. You're still far from that. Issue, protect Mihawk, don't let the bastards of the world government take him with them or hurt him.
Understood, leader.
Rob nullified his god perspective ability and continued his way towards the royal palace. Since Issue was there, it's no need to interfere himself. Issue didn't have the number 5 in his guild for nothing, and he totally deserved it. Issue smiled when he heard his leader's order. His leader was so mysterious and powerful that he could talk to anyone without even feeling his presence. Every time he was around, he felt that feeling as if the leader knew everything about him and everything was playing in his palm.
Just like a god, rather than just a mortal. Now, since the leader Zero has given him the orders, he won't hold back anymore.
Mihawk wasn't just his friend, he was a young man with the potential to become one of the guild emperors that would change the world in the future and turn it into a true utopia.
Chapter 185, Evil's Hunters Guild.
Rob shook his head while thinking of a way to make a proud person like Mihawk join him. Rob was also suspicious of whether Mihawk in the original story was a secret member of the Revolutionary Army. He didn't think that someone who could compete with the Yonko would be satisfied with the title of Shichibukai. There must be a huge secret behind Mihawk. Well, Rob didn't care so much about the events of the original story, which didn't make sense anymore. But he still wants to know the secrets of the main characters in the manga so that he can complete it in the future, or else he will be in real trouble. When Rob entered the royal palace with a welcome from the king himself, he noticed that the situation on the other side of the island was already over. Mihawk lost the fight, so Issue was forced to intervene, which in turn terrified the agents of the world government. The Metal Logia user found himself in a double-gravity swamp unable to move in. Unfortunately, his powerful devil fruit had met its natural enemy today. That's why he bit the bullet and ran with his tail between his legs. He didn't think that this blind man who mocked him at first had such strength. As expected of a legendary hunter with a higher number. Mihawk sat breathing heavily, though disappointed at not being able to cut the metal man. His great progress in this battle removed all his dissatisfaction.
Thank you for accepting my invitation, Rob-sama.
The king of the Brisk Kingdom was a character that didn't appear in the manga, even in the Levely arc, which showed a lot of kings and information about their kingdoms. This is because the Brisk Kingdom is not a member of the world government in the first place. The sensitive history of the kingdom was an obstacle around that.
No need to thank me, I was already expecting your invite.
Rob drank the cup of juice offered to him by one of the maids before he spoke.
That means you are aware of my demand, right? You want to take back your ancestors' ship if I'm not mistaken, right?
This was evident because, at this moment, the Brisk King was viewing the manga volume opened on the page where the ship first appears.
Can you take it back for the Brisk Kingdom? We will never forget this gratitude.
Okay,
I'll have someone to find it for you.
New World, Ring Hell Island. Here in this place that came to be called a pirate's paradise, in fact, this place was not a pirate's paradise as many people think, at least it is no longer. Since the main headquarters of the Evil's Hunters Guild appeared in this place, the pirates had become extremely obedient every time they entered the recreation island. Ring Hell Island has turned into a very wonderful island with an impeccable design, like a ring, and in the middle of it is a skyscraper as the main guild building, surrounded by the sea on all sides, but there are roads and towers linking the island ground to the main guild building, while the art store is on island ground. There is also a main port near the skyscraper, and it contains steel ships and yachts, all belonging to the Global Cruises Company, GCC, and the Hunters Guild, EHG. On the other side, on the island ground, there are 4 ship berths in the east, west, north, and south, where the movement of ships does not stop in this place. The island was redesigned and restructured by Rob himself in the last year. The Ring Hell Island is the place of the exams to enter the world's most wealthy and powerful guild along with the government guild. In this world, the dominance of the navy and pirates was no longer the same, but there was a third power that became more famous and prosperous in a year, and that was the Hunters Guilds. And the 2 strongest are the Evil's Hunters Guild and the Government Guild. A pirate hunter who doesn't have a hunter card from an official guild cannot be considered a bounty hunter and will not be able to cash a pirate bounty from the naval bases or the Hunters Guild. The Government Guild base is located in the Sabaody archipelago. It has 2 jobs, the first is to hunt pirates and criminals and the second is to protect the celestial dragons, and it also has a third secret job. Since the emergence of guilds, the work of the navy has been lessened, and the world has become more prosperous and safer. Strong people have appeared all over the world, power is no longer confined to pirates and the navy only. The bounty hunters, who were the weakest party in the past, have become the strongest competitors in the current era. Even powerful pirates became wary of official hunters. And all the credit for this goes to the first and most powerful guild in the world, which every bounty hunter's dream to enter. Evil's Hunters Guild. Like the Hunters Association from the HXH anime, only elites who are strong and intelligent can graduate from this guild. Whoever can get a hunter card from the Evil's Hunters Guild means that he has the best future he can wish for. There are a lot of classifications within the Evil's Hunters Guild, EHG. The first classification is Qualified Hunter. Everyone will have this rank on their card when they complete the hunter exams with an acceptable result. D Class. There are hundreds of qualified first classification or D-class hunters who had successfully passed the exams and obtained the hunter card. The pirate world wasn't short of geniuses and qualified people. The second classification is Professional Hunter. After obtaining the missions as a qualified hunter and passing 20 missions in D-class and 1 mission in C-class, the qualified hunter can apply for an upgrade test. After passing the upgrade test, the qualified hunter will become a professional hunter of C-class. D-class missions weren't difficult because any qualified hunter could easily accomplish them. Hunting a pirate with 10 million berry as a bounty can be considered a D-class mission, but the difficulty is doubly high in the C-class because a C-class mission can be compared to hunting a pirate with 50 million berry as a bounty. That was why the number of professional hunters was far less than the number of qualified hunters. The third classification is Master Hunter. After getting the missions as a professional hunter and passing 50 missions in C-class and 2 missions in B-class, the professional hunter can apply for an upgrade test. After passing the upgrade test, the professional hunter will become a Master Hunter of B-class. Mastering 2 types of hockey become imperative at this level because a B-class mission can be compared to hunting a pirate with 100 million berry as a bounty. That was why the number of Master Hunters was much lower than the lowest ranked hunters. Any hunter who holds a B-class hunter card is a force on a regional level and gets the respect he deserves from the officials in any island or kingdom. B-class hunter could be compared to a rear admiral in the Navy. The fourth classification is Grandmaster Hunter. After getting the missions as a Master Hunter and passing 100 missions of B-class and 2 missions of A-class, the Master Hunter can apply for an upgrade test. After passing the upgrade test, the Master Hunter will become a Grandmaster Hunter of A-class. At this level, hunters become rare, but they'd exist, the most powerful elites among the elites, those who get a Grade A hunter card, because only the one who can beat a pirate with a bounty of over 300 million can be considered as an A-class hunter.
The A-class hunter could be compared to a vice admiral from the Navy.
The fifth classification is legendary hunter, or what they are widely known as numbers or S-class. It's not possible to upgrade to this level in the normal way, because there are only 10 numbers on this level.
The seat 10 is the weakest among them and the seat 1 is the strongest. An S-class strength could be compared to an admiral's level. A level S hunter card that can be considered a Yonko title in this era. A level of strength and authority that can scare the shit out of any pirate or even marines, where S-level hunters can muster their guild forces as they want, by giving missions from D-class to a class. The sixth classification represents only one person, the hunter's leader, SS class, or what is widely known as Leader Zero, and it's Rob himself. Well, he's the founder of the guild anyway, and he's the one who puts all his resources into it. And he's the one who set all these ratings and level restrictions that made even the Navy and the world government gasp with admiration. The hunter's leader has been considered an untouchable person, and all hunters from all the guilds dreamed of surpassing him, even the leaders of the other guilds. They didn't dare put themselves in the sixth class for fear of offending him. As if the sixth classification was created only for Rob. Exactly like the throne of the strongest swordsman, he was sitting on the throne of the strongest hunter. Not to mention the throne of the best mangaka. At this moment, Rob, or the hunter's leader, was still in the royal palace of the Brisk Kingdom. He pulled out his iPhone from his pocket, then wrote into the Guild Quests app a new mission, the content of which was as follows. Urgent mission from Leader Zero. Mission content: find the St. Brice ship and bring it back to the Brisk Kingdom in South Blue. Coordinates: unknown. Approximate location: the Grand Line. The White Sea of Sky Island. It's constantly moving over Jaya Island. Lead time: 10 days. Task rating: S-class. Rewards: a noble title in the Brisk Kingdom, a free month in art stores, devil fruit with advanced potential. As soon as this quest appeared on the quests board and hunter cards, it caused quite a stir among the hunters. Chapter 186, S-Class Mission, Searching for St. Brice Ship. The Grand Line, Little Garden Island. Boom! Boom! The sparks flew when the greatsword and axe collided, as the second half of the island shook. From the sky appear two giants clashing in a fierce confrontation near the meeting point of the two small islands. Little Garden Island became like open scissors a year ago after the fierce battle between Admiral Zephyr and Fleet Admiral Sengoku against the giants Bragi and Dori. But since then, the intensity of the battles did not decrease, but the battles between the two giants continued regularly and increased in intensity. Although they had the entertainment of the art store that brought them anime and manga, that wasn't enough to stop them from fighting each other every time the volcano erupted as a signal to start their legendary fight. Fighting was an integral part of the instinct of the giants, just like breathing. But this time the volcano wasn't their only sign. Last year, Rob did not forget his giant friends, as he came every time to visit. He even hired them in his guild when it was newly established at that time, and surprisingly, the giants never refused to work for Rob or go off the island on missions. The hunter's card in their pocket became a signal of another kind. A signal for adventure. Gagiagia. Looks like another fight ended in a draw, Bragi. Giant Dori planted his huge sword into the ground before leaning on it. The blue ogre was fatigued after the battle. The same goes for the red ogre Bragi, whose gigantic body was sitting on the ground while his axe was sandwiched between the body and head of a T-Rex dinosaur. Gabba-babba-ba. Lucky for you, this dinosaur got into the fight. I lost my focus, or else you'd be the one suffering its fate now. The red ogre Bragi pointed to the T-Rex carcass next to them. Gagiagia. You must be kidding. Suddenly, the pocket area of their jackets glowed with golden light for a second before turning off. Bragi and Dori looked at each other in astonishment before taking out the thing that glowed from their pockets. These were the hunter's cards. They were cards that fit the size of their hands like the cards in a human's hand. On the front of the card, there is a personal picture, the hunter's full name, and some personal information such as the year of birth and place of birth, as well as the name of the guild and the classification of the hunter. But the card in Dori and Bragi's hands was a little different because it was specifically designed for numbers. Behind the card are a digital page showing the available tasks,
the number of tasks completed, and their scores.
It seems to be a mission from the leader. S-Class? I've never seen an S-Class mission before. Shall we go, Broggy? Let's take a look at its content first. Searching for the lost St. Brice ship? The White Sea and Sky Island? Broggy and Dory looked at each other in astonishment before they burst out laughing. That sounds fun, but it's impossible for us. How can we go to Sky Island?
You're right, Dory. Well, let's focus on our training to get ready for the next missions. We are, after all, numbers in the strongest guild. On Broggy's forehead, there's a red 6 above the Evil's Hunters Guild emblem that resembles bolts of lightning burning a pirate's skull. On the opposite side, Dory smiled before nodding in agreement. On his right cheek there is a blue number 7 above the guild emblem as well. When they first joined up, Rob gave them numbers class. Since they were so strong, there was no problem in giving them such high ranks. As soon as they was past his test, he decided to officially include them, of course, after they had agreed before that.
Wait. St. Brice ship? Isn't it the ship that appeared in the last volume of One Piece? Ah. You're right. It's definitely the same ship.
It seems that the future missions that the leader will give will be closely related to the events of the manga.
That's interesting, isn't it, Broggy?
Yes, Dory.
Gabba-babba-ba. Gegyo Jayagya.
Back to the west shore of the Brice Kingdom, the place where Mihawk and Issue still rest. Issue felt a tremble in his chest pocket. He took out his hunter card and threw it towards Mihawk, who grabbed it as usual.
What kind of mission is this time, Hawk-chan?
It wasn't that he couldn't figure out the contents of the card himself, but he was mentally exhausted due to his previous fight against someone of about his level. So without even wanting to carefully use the observation hockey to discover the words on his card, he simply handed it to Mihawk to read it to him.
It's an S-Class mission.
Oh, as usual, a class mission.
What did you say?
Issue's expression changed to a shocked one. That was because it was the first time he had seen an S-Class mission. Yes, a mission from your leader. He says that only people of A-Class or above have the right to accept this mission.
What is its content? Issue became more interested in the mission.
The search for the ship St. Brice, lost hundreds of years ago, over the White Sea near Sky Island.
Ha!
A smile appeared on Mihawk's face. He was excited to try something new.
This mission is fun. How about we go look for it?
We can help this kingdom recover the remains of their ancestors and also explore a little bit about the secrets of this world.
Ha 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 ha.
I'll go. After all, I'm an S-Class member of the guild, but you're not.
Mihawk returned the hunter card to Issue before he say. If I wanted to become that man's subordinate hunter, I would now already be one.
The young Mihawk stood before walking toward the boat moored on the shoreline.
And now, shall we go or not? Sure, we'll go. We need to get back to the Grand Line again, right?
That's going to be fun. I hope they have a great casino on the Sky Island. O'Hara, inside the art store.
Mom, can you use your authority to send us to the Sky Island?
Huh, why do you want to go there, kids?
Matriarch looked at her two children, Doflamingo and Rosinante, who were dressed in unusual clothes that made her feel uncomfortable.
Doflamingo was wearing a pink flamingo robe, just like the original Doffy, while wearing the same glasses from the original story. Had it not been for his shorter height than the original Doflamingo, he would have been the same person. The proof of this was that everyone inside the art store was looking at him with a wary look, foreheads wet with sweat. Everyone knows that this person is the Shichibukai in the future, Doflamingo. Next to him stood Rosinante. He was younger but as tall as a Doflamingo, dressed in a feathered robe but black, as well as the same Doflamingo glasses. They looked like two small versions of the original Doflamingo and the original Rosinante. Fufufu, an interesting task has appeared from Leader Zero and we want to complete it. You know, Mom, we are A-Class hunters despite our young age, but we aspire to be numbers in the future, and we won't be if we don't complete an S-Class mission.
Chapter 187, Young Enel Appearance. The Fall of the Giants King Nika. Both Doflamingo and Rosinante emerged from the art store on Angel Island with splendor like no other.
Although they were still kids, everyone who saw them shivered with goosebumps on their spines. Even the Scipians did not dare stand in their way, but some of the Scipians' kids ran towards Doflamingo and Rosinante excitedly the moment they saw them. Doflamingo was walking in the same way as his future version, but soon, a group of excited children surrounded him and his brother.
Are you really Don Quixote Doflamingo? The Shichibukai?
Where can I get the same clothes as yours?
Doflamingo is my favorite character from One Piece. Can I get your signature?
Calm down, kids, come to me one at a time. Even Doflamingo felt confused and embarrassed when he was surrounded like this. It was the first time he had tasted fame, so he secretly felt happy.
PFFTT. Ha 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 ha.
Big brother looks very confused. His little brother's mockery made his mood sour.
Ha, we're finally out of that place. See the consequences of being famous now, Doffy? Shut up, what does a kid like you know? Didn't they initially think the real Doflamingo was you? Why did you choose black feathers instead of pink feathers? You're also a kid. I just like the color black.
The two brothers were roaming the lovely street, but to complete the mission they needed a ship. Being children of Store Goddess and disciples of Leader Zero as well as A-class hunters, all of this allowed them to come closer to completing the mission, closer than anyone else. Because in the meantime, quite a few A-class hunters were already running to Jaya Island, and even an S-class hunter like Ishu was coming to get the mission done. But before all these powerful people, they were already on Sky Island. That was because Rob had not yet allowed the hunters to use the art stores to teleport from one place to another. This wasn't the first time Doflamingo and Rosinante had come to Sky Island via the teleportation feature from one art store to another, so Doflamingo thought of the fastest way to get the mission done, and that wasn't difficult. Now, we need to go to the port, from where we will use our identity as A-class hunters to borrow a ship and a navigator from the branch of the Global Cruise Company. After that, we need to search the White Sea which lies a little below Angel Island, right, little brother?
Yes, you are right, brother Dash. Did you just say you were looking for something? Another kid wants a signature? Doflamingo and Rosinante stop in their tracks when they are surprised by the voice of a kid coming from behind them.
Who are you? Doflamingo noticed that the young man who stopped them in their tracks was about the same age, looked weird, had long ears, a striped nose, blue eyes, short blonde hair, and, most surprisingly, no wings.
You don't have wings like me, yeah, I didn't think there would be people like me in Skypiea, nice to meet you. Doflamingo and Rosinante looked at each other in confusion, then Doflamingo asked spontaneously. You kid, what's your name? The young man tilted his head to the side in confusion. Wasn't this person a kid too? My name is Enel, and I'm a newcomer to Skypiea. The god of Skypiea brought me here from Burka. Nice to meet you. After a few days.
The new update has appeared from the manga, Heir of the World. In the past volumes, a fierce war took place between the evil giants, Fishman race, evil moon race, Lunarians, and evil angel race, Shandorians, against humans, 20 ancient kingdoms, and the dragon queen, Imasuna. The war was really intense, and it lasted for 50 years. The Fishman race had a mermaid princess who could control a horde of sea kings. As soon as she appeared on the battlefield, everything would turn into a meal in the mouth of the sea kings who could devour large islands in 2 bites at most. The evil moon race also possessed a devastating weapon that could bring storms and control the weather. Once this weapon appeared on the battlefield, it was equivalent to the appearance of the mermaid princess. Everything will be over. Fortunately for humans, they were able to steal a weapon no less powerful than the mermaid princess and the storm weapon. It was a warship said to have been built on the moon by the race of evil angels. Exactly in a place called Fairy Verth. A warship
can destroy a large island such as Sandy Island or Dressrosa with one shot.
It was made by the inhabitants of the moon who descended to live on the blue planet. The only known inhabitants of the moon at that time were the so-called evil angels in the manga, but they were actually the Shandorians who were the rulers of the Golden Kingdom Jaya. In the distant past, 3 tribes of moon dwellers descended on the blue planet. They were the Shandorians, the Scipians, and the Burkans. Only the Shandorians descended to live in the blue sea, while the Scipians and Burkans remained above the clouds and built their own kingdoms there. With time, their true origins were forgotten and turned into folk tales, but the heads of the tribes already knew that they were from the moon.
These facts did not appear in the manga, Heir of the World, so in the eyes of the people of the pirate world, they were the evil angels race and not anything else. And this is exactly the effect that the world government wants to implant in the minds of people through the manga. But smart manga readers can already relate the legendary ancient weapons, which have caused quite a stir lately, to the mermaid princess, storm weapon, and warship mentioned in the manga. The new volume caused great reactions among the readers of Heir of the World, because the end of the evil giant's king is near. In one of the manga pages, a huge straw hat appeared under the feet of a giant red dragon, and strangely enough, it resembled Luffy's straw hat, but its size was larger, while the face of the giant's king appeared. For a strange reason, he had a laughing expression despite the approaching moment of his death. On the next page, the huge dragon transformed into a woman of stunning beauty and crimson red hair. This woman was the protagonist of the manga, Imasuna. Do you have any final words, fake sun god? The giant's king didn't speak, but his worn-out face that seemed to be one step away from death irrationally regained his vitality, and then his hair and clothes turned white. In an instant, his gigantic body began to shrink strangely, and the world around him turned into something like rubber. Still, have some vitality? What do you want to do? The giant's king named Nika stood in front of Imasuna as if he had returned to his peak again. /N, amazingly he looked just like Luffy in Gear 5. Shiz Shi. The race of giants is undefeated, one day the real sun of this world will rise. On the next page, his shrinking body started to melt at an alarming rate, and unimaginably the air around him turned into rubber, a large patch of red earth turned into rubber. Since the dream of one sea cannot come true for the time being, let's relate the lesser seas of the world on a smaller scale. What are you doing? Don't you realize that it's all completely futile? Before she could finish her words, the red land that was completely flat under her feet began to descend downwards, a large crater was formed, and with it, 4 sea paths appeared. The waters of the 4 seas began ascending from these 4 paths until they met at the point beneath their feet, and in the same way, a new estuary was formed for all the waters of the 4 seas, which flows into the Grand Line. Imasuna watched all of this in amazement. She was unable to do anything to stop it. The topography had been altered in a very large area after all. In this way, what is now called the reverse mountain appeared. Shishichi. I succeeded. One day my successor will enter the Sea of Illusion via this path. Immediately after that, his entire body decomposed into worm-like creatures before they spread all over the world. This is how the most powerful being 800 years ago died. This scene not only stunned Rob but everyone who has read the new volume of the manga, Heir of the World. The thing worth noting was that they felt pity for the giant's king for some reason. The manga drawing has been greatly improved, although it can't compete with the One Piece at all, it deserves recognition. But all this was blown up in subsequent pages. Because of the world government's emergence, and what is now called celestial dragons. Chapter 188, The Heir of the World. Manga continues to praise celestial dragons. The readers get angry. The New World, Dressrosa. This is so disgraceful. The more I read this manga, I feel more anger. King Rikudoldo III nearly smashed his fist against the wall because of anger. And the reason for his anger is the manga. How a comic book can make someone angry. Yes, the Heir of the World manga caused high blood pressure not only for the King of Dressrosa but for everyone else who read it today. Not only in Dressrosa but everywhere else that has a manga agency on their territory. The events of the new volume caused very angry reactions. Even people who don't read the Heir of the World manga because they consider it unworthy trash had to read the latest volume to find out why everyone who read it was so angry. But when they actually read it, they soon regretted it. Dear, don't let that piss you off too much. Everyone knows that the world government is using their manga for political purposes. King Riku forcefully calmed himself and looked into his wife's worried eyes. Fortunately for him, his daughter Scarlet wasn't here to see his hysterics. Oh. Don't worry, Margaret, sorry, I scared you for nothing. Margaret was King Riku's wife and Scarlet's mother, her name not appearing in the original story despite her face appeared. I understand why you were angry, so there is no need to apologize. I was also angry for the same reason. Margaret sighed gently before getting up from her seat and approaching her husband's.
placing her hand on the back of his neck and gently massaging him. This gentle move succeeded in washing away her husband's tension, which brought him back a smile. They are not as old as in the original story but still young at the height of their love. Proof of this is the birth of their second daughter, Violet, last year. Yes, another manga character was born into this world, a very likable character. Although the people of the world government were one step away from his execution last year had it not been for Rob's intervention. King Riku decided to keep this incident a secret and not to mention it again in order to not deepen the problems and enmity between his kingdom and the world government. This move was very well received by the world government, and they decided to implement a few of his demands, but in fact, what Rob gave him last year make him forget all about the world government. Had he not been afraid of the Don Quixote family's wrath in Marigoa and their claim to their kingdom again, he would have already fallen out of the authority of the world government and joined Rob. In addition to the art store, Rob built a very large port of the World Cruise Company at Dressrosa which facilitated the sea transportation of his kingdom. He also established many shops selling exquisite goods such as modern clothes and foods, and centers for cultural exchange between the islands, all of which added a lot of job opportunities for the civilians of Dressrosa and even the residents of the neighboring islands. Dressrosa is way better than the original thanks to Rob's projects and his protection. That is why Rob was so favored in the hearts of kings and islanders, which he set up his own art store. Outside the royal palace, the chatter of the residents mostly contained angry reactions, although most people tried to suppress it so that the people of the world government would not hear them and cause trouble for themselves. Bastards! How can they draw celestial dragons so gentle? Those scumbags can't be so affectionate. This story is just false rubbish. Everyone knows how baseness celestial dragons and the world government are, so when they saw the beginning and the emergence of a fearsome organization that ruled the world for 8 centuries as the world government and the appearance of the first celestial dragon's generation in the manga, they felt the urge to strike someone. The author of this trash manga. The author exaggerated his praises of the celestial dragons a lot. In the next pages of the manga, the kings of the 20 ancient kingdoms captured the center of the world. The place where the gods of the bygone era, who are named in the manga, the evil moonrace, Lunarians, lived. The current Marigoa. There they established what is known today as the world government. An empty throne appeared among a group of 20 kings pointing their swords at the empty throne. On the next page, the 20 kings planted their swords in front of the throne. This tradition will continue with each generation of the 20 kings. All the royal families abandoned their kingdoms and decided to bear the title of celestial dragons and live in Marigoa except for the Alabasta royal family, and the reason for this as stated in the manga is that they all wanted to stay close to each other to quickly protect the world from any danger that might threaten the world in the future. However, the Alabasta royal family refused to put themselves in such great danger, and that is why they descended from Marigoa to remain in their desert. And of course, that was just big nonsense. Only who would believe all this nonsense? Fortunately for Cobra and his people, they didn't read this nonsense because they weren't in the Blue Sea anymore, where they would really be very angry, more than the others who the topic didn't matter to them. What appeared in the following pages was that the first generation of celestial dragons were very kind. The women of them had pretty faces and the men were the pinnacle of handsomeness. Their treatment of humans and other races at that time was like treating a kind king with his people. They always came down from Marigoa to inspect the lives of their people, so that they would bring back ordinary people of all races with them and welcome them in their paradise, which is Marigoa. Everyone was living in happiness and solidarity, and soon the world that was suffering from a fierce war turned into a peaceful world, returning from the grip of the evil giants to the good human beings. Ha 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 ha. As if this had already happened. In Ohara, Rob giggles with a dry laugh, after closing the manga. He's been following this manga just to get additional information about the world government. But even he was pissed off by all the false illusions which the 5 elders were selling to the inhabitants of the pirate world. Where are the D-Clan? Why don't you talk about them? And what about One Piece, and the All Blue, and the real reason for the war with the Ancient Kingdom? I want to know what the true Ancient Kingdom was, because this Giant's King nonsense is unconvincing. What happened with the Dragon Queen? Why did she no longer appear after overthrowing the so-called Giant's King?
Is the woman who interfered with my memories as Imu, this dragon queen?
Lots of questions piled up in Rob's mind and he didn't have any answer. He got bored of all these plot holes in this book. Looks like I have to rely on myself just to find out the truth about all of this. Rob was sitting on a grassy hill in Ohara. He decided to read the world government manga here and clear his mind to benefit a little from this manga, but that didn't help. It didn't clear his mind, but he just muddled it. Okay, One Piece will reveal your entire world government's ass. This nonsense had not helped protect anything you want to fake the truth about. Lightning covered the manga book, then burned to ashes the next moment.
Chapter 189, Imusama. Maragoa.
This brings back memories. But at that time it didn't happen this way, as if it was easy to defeat that person. Seated on her throne, Imu was bored without the One Piece manga, so she decided to check out the latest volume of the manga, Heir of the World, which was placed on her throne when she was not here by one of the 5 elders. She was bored while turning the manga pages. Only when she got to the part of Imusa's fight against the giant's King Nika did she slow down in the pages turning.
This is because these scenes brought her back some memories. Nika. I wonder when the real sun that you're still waiting for will rise.
I don't think you expected an anomaly like Rob to appear in this era. The sun you spoke of no longer makes sense. Fufufu. When Rob came here, she couldn't enter to meet him in the art store even though he gave her access, because she always felt threatened inside that mysterious place. The art store was a world separate from hers, with laws that she could not touch or control in any way, which was the biggest reason why she classified Rob under the category of an oddity, and he was the only one. In this world, nothing remains strange to her, only since Rob's appearance has this reality changed. That day she took advantage of the loophole that Rob had intentionally left, in which she believed he had set a trap for her to get in. Since she was of a higher rank than Gorosei, she was entitled to enter the art store, in any way. That's why her spiritual ability entered easily and allowed her to roam the memories that Rob decided to take a look at when his parents' names were mentioned. This was one of her abilities, unknown if it was a devil fruit's abilities or something else. Since she learns a little from the past of Rob, who was considered the most strange thing in her eyes, and she tries to find out more about him, his very existence has been a great mystery to her. At least she knew that he had a history in this world and not an alien as some idiot in the world government would promote. Not only that, but he also possessed the offspring of a troublesome tribe from the D clan. The tribe of Knowledge Light.
Her enemy's intelligence department.
In the past 800 years ago, she personally ordered the hunt down and extermination of every person from this tribe, because they had caused her so many headaches when she was looking forward to establishing her dominance over this world.
They were the ones who created the Poneglyphs with the Kazuki clan. This fact alone is enough to highlight the position of the Rob clan in history.
However, a few of them survived and reproduced through the generations until they reached the last survivor in the lineage, Rob, who now has a daughter who has the same characteristics of the Knowledge Light tribe as a new member of this tribe.
This explains Robin's love of books and history.
When Imu got past her fight scene against Nika, she got into the part that pissed off everyone who read it, but it didn't move her because she kept flipping over at a faster rate again. In the end, she closed the book and threw it away.
Boring.
This woman had reached a terrifying level of indifference. After she succeeded in achieving everything she aspired to and lived this reality for 800 years, the saturation rate had already crossed its limit a long time ago, so she decided to enter into a long hibernation from generation to generation and leave everything to the world government. This was the curse of immortality. She got bored of everything so much that she wished for death but could not find it. Imu stood up from her throne once more and walked towards a deeper area of Pangaea Castle. She arrived at a cold and frozen place, and without moving her hand a large gate opened and a cold mist scattered from within. It turned out that the room was a huge freezer. A huge straw hat immediately caught her gaze. She woke up 2 years ago but hasn't come here until now. The last time she visited this place was 100 or more years ago. Only after seeing a hat smaller than this one in the manga, One Piece, did she remember its existence. Yes, that was the hat of Joy Boy, the giant's king in the manga, Heir of the World. Since he was a giant, it was obvious that his hat was also gigantic. He used to wear it because it protected him from the annoying sunlight. Or maybe it was just an extra benefit of the hat because it had a big story behind it. Emu approached the hat, and coldly placed her hand on it, then an extremely hot red flame devoured the huge hat.
The dark and cold room was lit up with blazing flames.
After a few minutes, the flame was extinguished, but the hat was still there, not damaged at all.
Help the flame melt only the ice on the hat. Emu's expression didn't change at all.
As I expected, you're still alive somewhere.
Well, I wonder if you'll merge with Luffy in the future as he appeared in the manga. High in the sky.
Damn, where could this ship be? We've been looking for 3 days without rest. A ship the size of Going Merry sailed smoothly on the White Sea.
Above the sail sat 3 kids, Doflamingo and Rosinante, and their new friend, Enel.
The White Sea is so vast, Daffy, that it connects so many sky islands. As you know, we've seen so many lost ships after all. Young Enel got used to this talk in order to cheer up the duo who were bored with the search.
No one of those ships is the St. Brice ship.
Daffy is right, besides it's possible that the others somehow reached the White Sea and started searching now. Our advantage is lost.
Doflamingo looked at both Rosinante and Enel and said,
Let's expand our search. I'll use my ability to fly south and search there, while you and Enel will remain on the ship to direct its course so we don't get lost. 3 days had passed out of the 10 days that Rob gave as a deadline for the mission. The time constraints, and the difficulty of reaching Sky Island, as well as the unspecified location, were the factors that made the mission rating as an S-class in the first place.
Doflamingo knew the ship wouldn't be easily found, but he wouldn't lose the hope easily too.
It's good enough that he knows the shape of the ship, which is explained in the manga. In the White Sea, too, another ship was sailing smoothly, but it was smaller than the one Doflamingo borrowed from the World Cruise Company. A purple glow surrounded the ship which made it extremely light, and this made it much faster as the wind pushed its sail easily. You have a very useful ability. I started thinking about eating a devil fruit because of you.
Ho ho, do you praise me now, Hawkshawn?
No, I praise your devil fruit. Without it, we wouldn't have been able to fly this little boat to the sky.
That's because I've mastered it very well, you know.
Okay, you're great. Let's focus on looking for that lost ship.
Chapter 190, The Manga Truth Confirmed.
High in the sky, an extremely vast white sea, a flat snake-like sea king suddenly jumped out of the cloud sea soaring into the sky, and then returned to the white sea after a few seconds in the air. The strange water cloud shook, and with it, a huge ship shook too. No, it was a huge galleon.
/N, the galleon is a large, multi-deck sailing ship.
The huge ship seemed very ancient. No, it would be more correct to call it a wandering ghost ship. It has 2 sails, the one in the front was torn but still has an emblem on it, at the top of the emblem, written in bold, St. Brice. Yes, this was the St. Brice ship, an S-class mission target. It's been 5 days since Rob announced the mission, but apparently, no hunter has found this ship yet. The hull of the ship was destroyed by a lot of arrows. It is clear that the last thing the passengers of this ship faced was a rain of sharp arrows that pierced their bodies and ate their bones. Some of the skeletons that the arrowheads are still stuck in can be seen. Not far from the ship, the bad-tempered young Doflamingo was flying through the air in a manner that looked like he was walking on air, but was actually jumping over invisible strings he had made with his devil fruit ability. Since his teacher taught him this method of moving, he became an expert in it, so despite his young age he did not feel daunted when flying over the sea in this way. His pink robe flew with the wind, as he continued to accelerate into the air, but suddenly, something caught his attention. It was exactly what he wished to see in this white desolate place.
Finally, another shipwreck. I hope it's St. Brice's ship.
Doflamingo approached excitedly to the ship that caught his attention. As he drew near, the ship's features began to reveal to him little by little.
It's definitely not a small ship. Maybe.
On the opposite side, Mihawk and Issue's boat was also approaching the ship, but the first to arrive was Doflamingo. The moment he saw the ship's emblem, the name St. Brice in bold, he started laughing hard like a madman.
Real, everything is real. Everything the manga has shown up to this point is real. In fact, Doflamingo, like everyone else, had his reservations about the manga. He was still a kid approaching 13 years old after all. In this timeline he had not lived any of the harsh experiences that made him the same heavenly Rakasha from the One Piece manga. Neither in strength, nor in terms of experience, nor in terms of world knowledge,
he was still far inferior to the original Doflamingo. For this exact reason, he has been keeping his reservations against Rob all along. This was a trait common to all innate villains. When he first learned about a few of his teacher's goals and desires, he felt very excited and impatient, but he was still conservative and cautious. He couldn't say 100% that his teacher was a prophet or a god, as the most One Piece readers believe. Now only, he knew that what his teacher had done so far was so great that the mind couldn't imagine. An enemy that his teacher fights are not something that anyone can even think of trying to fight. The world government, or what lies behind the world government of earth-shattering secrets. This was the thing that the One Piece manga was fighting against and exposing one by one truth about it to everyone in the world, no matter how ordinary person it. After getting off the ship, Doflamingo laughed loudly and put his hand on his forehead. He was still absorbing everything he had experienced so far. Fufufu, would I have become that malicious and manipulative Shichibukai as you portrayed me if you hadn't saved us that day? Sensei. I am looking forward to seeing my true past. What happened without your intervention? Because, seriously, I start to feel like this world is an illusion. Looks like someone is already ahead of us, Hawkshan. Ishu's relaxed expression turned into a tense one after detecting the breath of a living person on the ship. Didn't you say that you might be the fastest hunter to get here? Mihawk can see the huge galleon getting closer and closer as the seconds pass. But he couldn't sense anyone on the huge ship. His observation haki wasn't at that level yet. He didn't feel the familiar presence of Doflamingo until after they got close enough. I said I might, but the leader's disciple was faster. Fu. The young Doflamingo stopped laughing and talking to himself after feeling the arrival of the guests. Who do we have here? The world's strongest swordsman and Isshu-senpai. What a surprise! But you arrived too late, Isshu-san. Doflamingo respected Isshu simply because he was at a higher level in the guild, and he knew him well and knew what this seemingly weak blind man could do. Kahahaha, so that's you, Dofi-kun. The purple glow on the boat that Isshu and Mihawk were on had disappeared. The boat stopped near St. Briss's ship and the duo jumped from it towards the huge ship. I didn't expect to see you here. Since you found the ship first, that's really unfortunate. You're right, I lost on this mission. Doflamingo relaxed after hearing that Isshu didn't intend to make things difficult for him, still wishing to have the S-class mission carried out on his guild record. You used your mother's authority to get here, didn't you, kid? Mihawk's hawk eyes met with Doflamingo's red glasses as if the sparks were flashing between them. What if I use my mother's authority? You are not even a member of the guild, so your justifications are rubbish to me. Calm down, guys, no fight, okay? You're going to destroy what's left of the St. Brice ship if you fighting here, kahaha. Isshu tried to stop them before they forgot themselves and started fighting each other again. I don't like that clown outfit. Your sense of elegance is as disgusting as your smile. Veins appeared on Doflamingo's forehead after hearing Mihawk's mockery, but he took Ishu's words into account. It wasn't the right place and time to fight that annoying swordsman. You are really lucky to be with Isshu-senpai, or else. And what else? Doffy, you really found it. Suddenly, another ship appeared near the St. Brice ship. It was the ship carrying Rosinante and Enel. Ah! What are Hawk-chan and Isshu-senpai doing here? Rosinante and Enel are both surprised to find other people near Doflamingo. Enel was curious about Mihawk and Isshu, who seemed close to his friends on Rosinante's tone. Rosinante vanished from his previous spot at a speed that could not be traced to the naked eye and appeared beside Doflamingo like a mirage. Then at lightning speed, he explored all parts of the St. Brice ship. When he returned the next second, he was holding in his hand the picture of the Queen of St. Brice and a jeweled crown. That's what appeared in the manga, if I'm not mistaken, right? The trio's interest was immediately drawn to the items in Rosinante's hands. When they saw the same picture that Sanji held in the manga, they felt a familiar feeling that turned into awe and affirmation. Only now do they realize that this ship is the indisputable physical evidence of the truth of the manga they have been able to obtain. So, the One Piece manga is real after all. That wraps up this part of What If Becoming a Mangaka in One Piece World. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well.
See you in the next one.